What if I told you that some of the greatest battles in history weren't won by sheer numbers or brute strength, but by brilliant strategy? From formations that made armies nearly invincible, to traps so cunning they wiped out entire forces, ancient military tactics didn't just win wars, they reshaped the world. Let's explore the greatest ancient war tactics that changed history. Imagine standing on a battlefield, facing an unstoppable wall of shields and spears, moving forward like a single unit. This was the phalanx, the backbone of Greek warfare. Each soldier, known as a hoplite, carried a large shield and a long spear, standing shoulder to shoulder with his comrades. The front rows formed an unbreakable wall, while those behind them struck over their shoulders with deadly precision. This formation was nearly impenetrable until military minds figured out its weakness. The Romans eventually defeated it by adopting a more flexible formation, allowing them to outmaneuver and break the rigid phalanx apart. But even today, elements of the phalanx still influence modern riot control and military tactics. Alexander the Great never lost a battle, and this tactic was a key reason why. Here's how it worked. His heavily armored infantry would engage the enemy head-on, keeping them locked in place, the anvil. While the enemy was distracted, Alexander's elite cavalry, including his feared companion cavalry, would sweep in from the sides, the hammer. At the Battle of Gaugamela, Alexander used this tactic to crush the Persian army. Despite being outnumbered nearly 5-1, his cavalry struck with such speed and force that the Persian center collapsed, sending shockwaves through their entire army. This wasn't just about brute force, it was about timing, precision, and deception, a strategy still used by armored divisions in modern warfare. The Roman testudo, or turtle, formation was a fortress on the battlefield. Roman soldiers, known for their unmatched discipline, would lock their shields together on all sides, creating a nearly impenetrable formation. The front row formed a shield wall, while the top layers acted as a roof, protecting against arrows and siege attacks. This tactic made them invincible against archers and slingers. It allowed them to advance under heavy fire during sieges and brutal battles, such as those against Carthage and the Gauls. However, its main weakness? It required perfect coordination. If even a single soldier panicked or broke formation, the entire unit could collapse, which is exactly how some barbarian forces eventually exploited it. What if the best way to win a war was to never fight a battle at all? When the Romans faced Hannibal of Carthage, they learned this lesson the hard way. After suffering devastating losses, Roman general Fabius Maximus came up with a bold strategy: avoid direct battles altogether. Instead, he ordered small ambushes, disrupted supply lines, and starved the enemy forces over time. This relentless harassment weakened Hannibal's army, forcing them to retreat without ever facing a large-scale battle. It was a frustrating yet brilliant strategy that inspired guerrilla warfare techniques used even today, but not everyone liked it. Romans called him the delayer, mocking his reluctance to fight head-on. Yet in the end, his patience saved Rome. Genghis Khan didn't just defeat his enemies, he humiliated them. One of his most infamous tactics was the feigned retreat, a trap so simple yet so devastating. His cavalry would pretend to flee, making it look like they had lost their nerve. The enemy, seeing an easy victory, would chase after them in disorganized excitement. But this was the trap. Once the enemy was stretched out and exhausted, Mongol forces would suddenly turn back, encircle them, and wipe them out completely. This tactic worked against European knights, Chinese warlords, and Islamic armies alike, allowing the Mongols to build the largest empire in history. Imagine marching deep into enemy territory, only to find nothing. No food, no shelter, no supplies, just miles of burnt land and abandoned cities. This was the scorched earth strategy, perfected by ancient civilizations like the Assyrians and Scythians. Rather than letting an invading army live off the land, they destroyed their own resources, forcing the enemy into starvation and retreat. The Russians famously used it against Napoleon and Hitler, but it was actually an ancient tactic that saved entire civilizations from being conquered. It was a brutal yet effective strategy that turned the land itself into a weapon. At the Battle of Cannae, Hannibal faced a massive Roman army, nearly twice his size, but instead of retreating, he trapped them in a way never seen before. Hannibal let the Romans push into his center, drawing them in deeper and deeper. Then, his cavalry and flanking forces closed in from the sides, trapping them in a deadly vice. The result? 50,000 Roman soldiers were slaughtered in one day. It was one of the worst defeats in Roman history. And yet, despite this genius victory, Hannibal's ultimate downfall wasn't on the battlefield. It was due to Rome's relentless refusal to give up. Used by the Celts and later perfected by the Romans, the flying wedge was designed to pierce through enemy lines like a blade. Soldiers would form a V-shape, with the strongest warriors at the tip, charging at high speed. This focused all their force into a single point, breaking enemy formations apart and leaving them vulnerable. The Vikings, the Knights Templar, and even modern riot police have used variations of this tactic. Used by the Ottomans and Mongols, this tactic was all about deception. The army formed a wide crescent shape, luring the enemy to charge at the center. But as they did, the curved wings of the formation closed in like a pincer, trapping them from both sides. This was devastating against armies that relied on cavalry charges, like the Crusaders. The Dacians of Eastern Europe had a secret weapon, the phalanx, a long, curved blade designed to slice through shields and armor. Their unique tactic, attack from above, swinging their phalanx weapons over Roman shields, cutting into unprotected heads and shoulders. It was so effective that Rome was forced to reinforce their helmets and rethink their battle tactics. Wars aren't just won by swords and soldiers, they're won by the minds of great strategists. From the unbreakable phalanx to the deceptive, feigned retreat, these tactics weren't just clever, they changed the course of history, and even today, modern warfare still borrows from these ancient strategies. So, which one surprised you the most? Let me know in the comments. If you love history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon so you don't miss out on more mind-blowing stories from the past. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.